Talk about taxes. Let's talk about taxes. I think he made points about tax reliefs for foreign companies, which I don't want us to repeat. My only question is, usually everybody says our tax to GDP is lower than all our peers. And again, don't you think we should qualify it a bit? So I know it's overall tax, but is the problem direct or indirect? Because it can also give you a list of taxes you pay when you have to import a commodity. There are many. He also spoke about the issue of property tax and how there was an attempt, because it's a progressive tax generally, right? And so I want some insight into the tax problem. You understand? Because if everybody says, we are not paying enough taxes, the tax to GDP is low. Why? Is it because we are not collecting enough direct taxes? Because I can say when I go to Melcom to buy something, the number of taxes I see on that thing is very, very high. People say our port is not competitive compared to Togo because our port charges are very high compared to our peers. So if you say our tax to GDP is low, and yet GRA every year says they've surpassed their target, again, there's some insight missing in the tax conversation, which we need to bring out. So I don't know if you can help us.
Okay, so I think in my presentation, I differentiated between taxes and others. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned property tax, and I was educated that it is property rate, not property tax. And I'm told by the tax experts that when you say tax revenue, these are revenues that are backed by law, that are supposed to be collected by the Commissioner General. Okay. And therefore, that constitutes the tax to GDP ratio.
It doesn't include the other things.
So the other things, like you are paying some other...
So like the levy at the port, where I pay spraying on all those things?
So it depends on the type of levy. So
and who collects it?
So property rate is not tax as per the tax people.
No, but now they brought GRA into it.
No, they said GRA even does that, but GRA is just helping the local government to be able to do.
Which is why the local government people didn't agree.
Yeah. So
it's a GRA thing. Yes. The point is, he didn't want to go there. So the basic thing is that GRA has come in to use their tax efficiency to help collect property because the assemblies are weak.
Yeah. So when you speak to even the GRA, they will say that the tax to GDP ratio is based on tax effort. That is from the tax effort.
Okay.
So we need to look at it. And my heart bleeds for Minister of Finance. Earmark taxes. If you take VAT, we have the COVID, we have the Get Fund, we have this, and those ones are earmarked. And it does not, the Minister of Finance doesn't have the direct kind of control over it. If the Minister of Finance does not release the money, then he is in trouble. So the way we have made our tax system, it makes it difficult for Minister of Finance to have that discretion to be able to use the tax to be able to do what it's supposed to do. So on one side, public is paying so much, but those ones are not being found on a tax. They may be non-tax revenue, but government says tax. So I think we need to have a conversation when we bring all those things that are being paid by the public, put them in a basket and see how we can.
So let me get you right.
Out.
So when they say our tax to GDP is lower than our peers, they're talking about what GRA collects, not what we pay.
Yes, that's what my understanding from a tax expert.
Is that what all the other countries also do? That need to their GRA collects? Because if you say we are not paying enough taxes and we say we are suffering,
so it depends on the tax law. You may go to Kenya and they may not have those earmark and all those rates and levies and other things
outside of what?
Outside the tax. Maybe the tax component may be big.
Because you see, if the narrative is wrong, we cannot solve the problem. Because if we just keep saying Ghanaians are not paying enough tax, meanwhile, tax is a technical definition based on what you define, then maybe we are trying to solve the wrong problem.
And a typical example is, I am coming from an ignorance perspective as a taxpayer. I have maybe a hotel, and I pay 1% of my turnover to tourist authority. Yes, it is not tax, but it's something that has come from me. I pay something to EPA. It comes from me. I pay something to the police. It comes from me. I pay something to fire service. So when I add all those things, they come from my profit. And then it takes out everything. So when government says that...
But doesn't that money go to government?
No.
Wait. Are you talking about, you see, hold on. If I pay to tourism ministry or tourism authority, is that not government?
So they are authority, and he can educate me if I'm wrong. They are authority. And I can tell that is why many agencies are now converting from agency to authority. So when you become authority, you have that kind of power to also generate revenue.
So is the tax to GDP low because there are too many non-GRA people collecting money?
I mean, that is from my perspective.
Is that part of the problem, or is that Ghanaians are just not honest? Or the tax authority is just not efficient?
And that is why Ghanaians will always complain that you are bringing so many taxes.